Hey friends, today I'm going international to Toronto, Canada. I'm here celebrating my 20th wedding anniversary with the hubby. In 3 days, we went to some great foodie spots, took in some stunning views, and a quick road trip to Niagara Falls. To get to Toronto, we flew from Chicago. The flight was approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes. Because we completed all of the travel documentation online through United Airlines and the Arrive Canada app, we were able to get through border security smoothly and quickly. Our mini vacation in Canada was during the first week of October. We arrived to Toronto on a Tuesday afternoon and departed on Friday mid-morning. As empty nesters, coming to Canada during this time made sightseeing so much easier, mostly because there are less families traveling because of school and others are working. A lot of the vloggers may mention traveling by public transportation, but this wasn't specifically a convenience for us, and we don't mind paying for convenience. So we did rent a vehicle during this trip through Hertz Rent-A-Car. The car did include fuel, and we did not need to fill up again. During our trip, we stayed at the DoubleTree by Hilton, which was about 10 minutes away from the Toronto Pearson International Airport. This saved us about $400 compared to staying downtown, which technically went back towards the car rental. The suite had a king-size bed with a separate living space, plus a mini fridge and microwave. There's also a Starbucks downstairs, plus plenty of restaurants next to the hotel in the surrounding area. Unfortunately, on our first night in Toronto, it was raining very bad. But luckily, all the signs on the highways and the roads did have English language, and we were able to navigate the roads. Also, the Google GPS had translated everything from mileage to kilometers. Luckily for us, the rain slowed down and we were able to go to House on Parliament, which had been on our list to visit. We had the Scotch egg, which is a breaded pork sausage over boiled eggs. My husband had the penne a la rosé, which included shrimp, chicken, and bacon. I had the steak frites, which was a New York strip steak with herb butter, as well as a green peppercorn brandy sauce. For dessert, we had an apple trifle, which included a warm spice pound cake, as well as a vanilla pastry cream and an apple compote. I wasn't a fan of it because the cake tasted like a cookie, but my husband loved it. It's day 2 and we have a lot of things planned for today. Thankfully, the rain has gone away and it's beautiful outside. But we're going to first stop off at the St. Lawrence Market. I had seen a lot of vloggers talking about St. Lawrence Market, and I was really interested to see what was there. So when we first arrived, we were on the first floor, and we found a few locations that had like tons of bakery items. This particular location here is Eve's Temptations. There's an array of different bakery items, pastries, candies, pies, cakes, all of those types of things. Not only does Eve's Temptation has all of these things, but there are a few other locations within the market that has various types of treats. Also, while on the first floor, we ran into some shops that had like gifts, souvenirs, different types of arts and crafts, really an assortment of things. And while we were walking around, we did find a few stores that had like items that I've seen in the US but was less expensive in Canada. So that was kind of cool to see. We did not bring back a lot of things because we knew that we were only here for 3 days, but we also didn't want to be tempted with all the different types of items that we could be eating, either while at the hotel or while we were driving around. We definitely avoided a lot of the temptations. These macaroons look so delicious, and there were so many different flavors. But I did go back to the hotel with some of these candies. I got the cognac, the rum, the passion fruit, the amaretto, as well as the champagne, and those were all really good. And as I mentioned before, on the first floor, there are a few stores with various produce. This particular store had an array of different types of rice. And while walking through another area of the first floor, We did see a smaller deli. It wasn't a lot of things that you can get from there, but they did have a few items. I had to bring back some of the Biscoff cookies. Those are some of my favorites, and they were pretty inexpensive. I avoided getting any of these candies. I should have brought some back. There were so many different flavors. Canada, I believe, in my opinion, has the best chocolate I've ever tasted. So I really should have brought some back, but I didn't. I did avoid it. Also on this floor, there are tons of different maple syrups and maple butters. You can see these types of items throughout the first floor. Actually, it's not just in one location. I believe that if you are to bring souvenirs back to the US, this would be the best place to purchase them for the price. Then while we were on the first floor walking around, we had stopped by one of the restrooms. And while we were coming out, walking around some more, there was a lady that was also a guest or a patron at the market, and she must have saw that we were tourists, and she informed us to go on the second floor because there was more things to see up there, which we didn't realize at the time because we were amazed at everything that was going on downstairs. But once we got upstairs, we saw all the food, tons of food that was you're able to purchase, to take out, or food that you're able to eat while there. And just remember that any of the prices that I'm zooming in on, I'm just amazed because these are Canadian prices, and I know that if we were in the US and buying any of these items, whether it was the cheese, the pastries, all of this glorious seafood, it would be much more money in the US. So I was pretty impressed on not just the selection that was there, but how fresh everything appeared. Another thing that we were looking for while we were at the St. Lawrence market is the pea meal bacon sandwich. We saw a lot of bloggers and social media influencers talking about this was something to try while in Canada, and my husband decided to sample and see what it was all about. What do you think?
I don't like it.
Oh. You don't like it? What it tastes like?
I can't describe the meat. It don't taste like bacon.
Okay, he did not like the sandwich. I decided to try it, and it tasted like spiced ham, which is kind of like a combination of like Spam and ham, but that's what it tasted like to me. I wasn't a fan of it myself. So we decided to get up and walk around some more to see what was available to eat. We kept coming across lots of pastries again, and we had saw a restaurant when we were walking before that was cooking fried and grilled seafood. So we went back over there to check that out. My husband ended up getting a lobster roll, which was filled with tons of lobster meat. I ended up getting some grilled tiger shrimp as well as some basmati rice, and it was delicious. While at the market, we attempted to get some bagels just because, again, we saw other vloggers and influencers talking about it. However, they didn't have any bagels that my husband was interested in, so we skipped on that. While walking around, we did see these potato chips that we thought were different. We didn't buy them, but we thought that was pretty cool. We also saw some buffalo milk. at this particular store, which I had never seen before at a store, buffalo milk, so that was kind of cool. And there was different types of pate that was here. I thought it was interesting. Wouldn't eat it, but it looked interesting. So after we left the St. Lawrence Market, we drove to the CN Tower. And in that area, there is parking. You want to look for the Green Peak parking. There's also an app for that. The price for parking can range between $1 to $5 per hour. I want to say we spent about $10 to $15. And the max that you would pay is $20. And again, this is all Canadian dollars. We did purchase our tickets on site, but it may be best depending on if you're going there, as well as the Ripley's Aquarium next door. You may want to purchase your tickets online because they do have deals where you can combine those tickets. How many times you do this during the day?
Originated.
How many times you get asked that question?
26.
So I must say that once we got to the top, well, the main observation level, I was definitely surprised at the views. Although I'm a Chicagoan and I've been to the Sears Tower, or Willis Tower as it's called now, it was still stunning to see these views of Toronto. I also was impressed in a sense that it felt like I was immersed in the views. And I don't know if it's because of the way the windows were designed, but I just had a different feeling than when I'm viewing the architecture in Chicago. And it could just be, that I'm a Chicagoan and I've seen those views so many times. I'm always impressed with our skyline and architecture, but it was pretty cool to have this view of the skyline as well as Lake Ontario too. So the CN Tower does have multiple levels. So we're on the main observation level, but there is another level above this view, and there is I believe it's $10 extra to go up there. Also below this, so like on the lower level of the observation deck, is an area where you can walk around like on a glass floor or a glass ceiling. There's also an option where you can do an edge walk, where you walk the edge of this observation deck on the outside, and of course that was not for me. There is a restaurant in the CN Tower, but the main observation level does have areas where you can sit and eat snacks too. So now that we've done walking around the 360 views of CN Tower, we went across the street to the Rec Room. The Rec Room is a restaurant as well as an arcade. They also have like a karaoke area. There's an area for magicians. I believe on certain days they have DJs there too. But we did walk around to see what the games were, but we were pretty tired from the walking that we did earlier in the day at CN Tower as well as St. Lawrence Market. So we are here basically for the food. We did put our order in, and the hostess was very nice and gave us some popcorn, which we were able to munch on while we waited on our food. They also had some really good mocktails. We drank a few of those, and my husband got the fried chicken sandwich. I got the pretzel as well as some chicken tenders, and everything was delicious. Before going back to our hotel room, we drove to a local Walmart, and we do this whenever we're traveling. Like, we want to see what are the fun snacks that are available in the location that we're at. And of course, these are Lay's potato chips, which of course are in the US, but it was fun to see how the labeling was on the bags of chips, where it's showing the English language as well as French. Some of the flavors we had not seen before, but maybe they're on their way to the US, or they may not be at our local Walmart. So it's our anniversary night, and we went to Chop Steakhouse and Bar. The Berea spring rolls were good. The side dishes, like the loaded baked potato as well as the lobster mac and cheese, was good, but the actual steak could have been so much better. It was lacking flavor. It was lacking seasoning. And again, we're from Chicago, so we do like a lot of flavor in our food, but yeah, the steak was definitely lacking. And that was the opinion in a lot of Google and Yelp reviews too. They did give us an assortment of desserts for our anniversary, so because of that, I'm going to give them a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is day 3, and we're on our way to Niagara Falls on the Ontario, Canada side. It only took us an hour and 15 minutes to get here, and remember, we're going during the day, during the week, while folks are at work. This travel guide location was very helpful for helping us get in here. If you're putting this in a GPS, I would suggest you put in Niagara Park's power station. That will definitely help you get to the falls once you have arrived to the city. This was my first time ever seeing Niagara Falls, and that's from the US or the Canadian side. The views were definitely breathtaking. You have the ability to ride a boat that will take you very close to the falls for what I imagine is a fantastic view. But me, being a scaredy cat, I decided not to do that. If I was to visit the falls in the future, I would definitely try this, because I may be able to get over my fear, just to say that I had that experience. So once you finish taking in the views, there are areas where you can use the bathroom. There's an indoor area where there's restrooms in there. There's also restaurants, and there is a big shopping area where you can buy lots of souvenirs. On our way back from Niagara Falls, we stopped into downtown Toronto, and we wanted to check out this miniature museum called Little Canada. And inside of Little Canada, there are exhibits of miniature versions of the different provinces of Canada. What I thought was amazing was not only did it have like the various replicas of the different cities in Canada, but also like all the details that was put into the exhibit. When I was looking at some of the bulletins, it was saying it took about 10 years to build just the portions that they have available right now. While we were there were some artists that were at the museum that were actually creating different additional sections of the museum. So I believe it was like the west coast of Canada that they were working on. I don't know how long it's going to take them to finish it, but they were working on it at the time. Also, while you're in there, you do have the option to get a miniature version of yourself. So if you wanted to be like one of these little people that are on the exhibit, you know, it's something that you can take home and get like a little miniature version of yourself. Another thing that was pretty cool about this miniature museum is that there were, of course, multiple areas that we did not get a chance to experience on this trip because we were only there for 3 days. So being able to go to this museum, I still got a chance to see parts of Canada while being, in one location, so to speak. Again, the details of what they've done in this museum, I think, is pretty amazing. And the time and the expertise that was put into this, I think, is amazing. Before leaving the downtown area, we walked over to the City Hall to see the Toronto sign. And there is a older version of City Hall, and across the street is the newer version. While you're walking over there, if you're like me, there are tons of pigeons out there, so beware of that. They do like people. We actually saw a guy with a pigeon on his head, and there were people out there feeding them, so just be cognizant of that. But it was a nice sign to see, and apparently it lights up at night, and there's different symbols within each letter of the sign. It's our last day in Toronto, and we are going to Jack Astor's for dinner. They have multiple locations in the Toronto area and probably throughout Canada. It was the best restaurant that we ate at. It reminded me of a TGI Fridays, Houlihan's, Chili's, maybe Grand Lux Cafe, like combined all into one. The mocktails were delicious. We had the Asian wonton nachos with chicken, Asiago chicken bow ties with sun-dried tomatoes, bacon, and mushrooms, and the Hunter's chicken with smashed potatoes and truffle sauce. And everything we had on our plates was delicious. Thanks for joining me on this 3-day trip in Toronto. There's lots of things to experience and eat while exploring this incredible city. Whether it's your first time or your 10th, Toronto always has something new to offer. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite spots in the comments below.